Hello. This morning, in answering emails, I was asked again a couple of times, so I thought I'd make it a very brief point about it. And the question was, what is the purpose of life, Burt? The mind is so convoluted. It's always asking why, what, which, where, how. It's constantly so involved in trying to seek intellectual answers that it doesn't look at what is obvious. And the purpose of life is very obvious. It is you, this moment. You are a human being. In other words, the truth is being. You are being, playing the human role. It is that simple. But you will find, because you identify with the human and seek the being, thinking that the being is outside you, is somewhere. And the being is all that you are. The being is not inside or outside. The being is. This is something that is not easy to understand, but we can feel it. Because all we are ever doing as a human, seeking the being all the time. Seeking to be happy, seeking love, seeking someone to complete us. Our completion is being itself. Being is total. Being is unborn, undying. It is all that there is. And there's never a time when it did not exist. Being is. Feel it, please. It is your pure essence, your pure being. And from that pure being comes all the consciousness that we are adhered to. Thoughts, feelings, ideas, fears, hopes, desires, all emotions. Although actually all emotions are only two, love or fear. But when you look at it, you'll find that the being is total, perfect, unconditional love when we get to know it. Because it's all we ever want. It's all we ever desire. Just like I repeat it often, just like the child who's all the time being misbehaving and the mother is shouting and yelling at him. And in his heart he's saying, Mommy, why can't you love me as I am instead of the way you want me to be? We all want unconditional love. That is the being. The human, not understanding the being, it's always seeking something convoluted, something out there, some unknown answer, that it starts to make rules and conditions of how it should be. And anyway, but it misses its simplicity. The human is not as real as we think it is. And it's changing all the time. For example, when we talk about the human, right away we look at the body. The body is shedding billions of cells every day. It's changing. At my age, I have had about 6 different bodies. I was a born infant, and then I became a child, and then I became a teenager, then I became a young man, and then become an older, mature man, and so on and on. These were all different bodies. The body was never the same. It's changing all the time. Taking on how we live the body. The being. How we live in the being. The more you live in the being, the happier, the freer, the less complicated, and more simple you become. Simple in the sense that you are uncomplicated. You see, the Course in Miracles says we have 2 minds. The right mind and the wrong mind. Well, to make it simpler still, the wrong mind is the conditioned part of us, thinking that we are just a name and form. And we identify so strongly with it that we are lost, literally lost. And so we try to gain more and more and more. And this is the need of the egoic human mind, Okay, it's never satisfied. It wants more and more. We are a nation, we in the West, for example, who crave success all the time. We're looking for it all the time. But the real success is happiness. It is freedom. It is being you. It is being happy. You see, and these things are a very natural process of being. When you allow, surrender, forgive, and that's a big one, forgiving, to keep forgiving yourself, having compassion for the way you are, no matter how disturbed you are. You see, there are, just like the Course says, we are two emotions, love or fear. Everything that is negative, everything that is suffering, everything that is limited, everything that is unreal is called fear. False evidence appearing real. On the other hand, everything that is real is love. Because when we are love, when we feel the love, we are silent. We feel good. We feel pure. We feel happy. But we think in terms of this happiness as being very mild and very quiet. It isn't. There's a part of us that is hungering for this love without understanding it. For example, we find many young people jumping off airplanes in free fall, and they say, boy, you've never lived until you are free falling. And it's true. Others bungee jumping. Others torn by tremendous sex urge, pornography. And these things are not necessarily wrong, but they are a twisted form of wanting being and not realizing it. Because when we are in our essence, when we are in our pure being, we feel the joy, we feel the loveliness, and it cannot compare with anything else. Even sexual orgasm, which is so beautiful and it lasts only a few seconds, we want it more than anything because at that moment we have died to our ego, believe it or not. It's the same in the free fall, it's the same with bungee jumping, it is the same with all pursuits, you know. Sometimes the more dangerous the pursuit, the more we come close to life because we want to come close to death, almost like, you know, trying to see how long you can keep from opening the parachute before you hit the ground. And in that excitement we feel alive. But you see that aliveness is inborn in us, in our pure being. I didn't know that when I was a kid. And I always wanted excitement. But I never had it until one day I experienced my being. And that was an light experience that I've had. I never knew joy, I never knew love, I never knew ecstasy like in that moment. And that isn't the being that you are right now. But you see, the being is not your ego. The being is not your past. The being has no time in it. And the being is alive every moment. But the moment is eternal. There is never a time when you can say, now is this only. No, it is this. But this has no time. This is eternal. This is always. It never becomes a yesterday, and it's never a tomorrow. It is always this. And when you start feeling through depth meditation, through knowing who you really are, then you'll begin to experience yourself. Now you see, the one motivating thing in us is called I. The word I. You know, I think, I feel, I know, I understand, I crave. That I is in everyone. That I is who you are. But in the beginning, it is an ego, because it is completely identified with the body you think you are. The body is just a reflection of consciousness. It is not real at all. I didn't know that until I became quite advanced in my age to realize that. But now that I do, it's a totally different aspect, a totally different way of looking. So we go back to the human is always seeking the being. But the being is the greatest energy of all, because in that light experience it is perfect love. And it is not the I you think you are, which is really the ego of you. This is why we get easily hurt and easily offended and easily affronted and want to get even. We don't want to forgive because we want to get our own way. We want this I to be uppermost. But you see, the I is who you are. But here, take one step further and see the obvious. Every human being you see, everyone you see, is the same I. Everybody says I. And then you go even more. And you will see that when you hurt someone, you're hurting yourself. When you judge another, you're really judging yourself. When you dislike someone, you are disliking yourself. Everything is interrelated, interdependent, interconnected. And when you begin to see this clearly, that how you treat others is how you treat yourself inwardly. When you see it very, very clearly, this is the third step of the I, then you begin to wake up. Because it's all one. And that oneness is not inside or outside. It just is. The word is the word of truth. It is without beginning and without end, eternal. And incidentally, before I end this, I'd like to say that in March 23rd, 25th, 2018, I'm giving a retreat based on this very subject itself, and of having the silent mind, the silence that you are, the being that you are, to take over your life. And then you'll begin to understand what true living is, what true happiness is, what fulfillment is. See? And it's going to be at the Krishnamurti Center in Victoria. And you can register now by going into my website, burtharding.com. And there is something with it, and then you click to register at the bottom, and it will lead you to where you want to be. You see all the prices there. The lodgings are great, the food is great, and those 3 days are heavenly spent. Anyway, so I just had to add that because I'm also excited about that. So, all the best. Namaste.